Unions, business groups and independents, including Allegra spender and David Pocock, have joined a push to establish a new Institute of Ethics. It's a $30 million pitch that would contribute to more ethical policy. Let's go now to Simon Longstaff, who's Executive Director of the Ethics Centre and is also behind this pitch that we're talking about. Simon, great to see you. What would such an institute do? What would it achieve?
Well, there are a number of different levels. Firstly, at the level of the economy, an investment of $33 million would lead to an annual increase in our GDP of $45 billion a year, not through magic, simply by restoring trust in our institutions. But there's also key national security implications, which is why we have former Chiefs of Defence and the recently retired head of ACIS also backing this, because they understand that this is also part of Australia's contribution to developing and deploying its soft power.
So when we talk about that additional trust, how does it flow through to such a boost to GDP?
Well, the GDP ultimately depends on there being a number of opportunities, firstly for reform. So Australia has a brilliant future before it if only it can harness the opportunity to change the way we do things, whether it's in areas like energy or insurance, or making changes to competition so that the cost of living isn't so impacted by people who engage in, say, predatory pricing. The $45 billion coming from trust, it sounds like it's too good to be true, but in fact, in this case, it is actually true. It's been carefully modelled over time. And when you increase trust, you start to get improved dividends for shareholders. Employees do better because of the discretionary effort that they give to places they feel are aligned between what they say and what they do. And all of that adds up to a really massive improvement in the economy, which is why it's one of the best investments that could ever be made.
So give me a sense of how it would work, Simon. You're urging the Treasurer to make that commitment initially as the foundational funding, but how would then the Institute carry out its work?
Yeah. Well, the first thing, it's important to note that the federal government's not being asked to carry the full cost. They're being asked to put in just over $30 million, but there's another $20 million coming back from our partners and also from the private sector. So this is a genuine partnership between public and private sectors investing in this. As to how it would then work, well, a new hub would be established by the three parties which are foundation members, the Ethics Centre, the University of Sydney and the University of New South Wales. But that hub would be there to coordinate activity across the nation. So within every state and every territory, there would be nodes that had specialist areas. The ACT, for example, will be specialising in sport ethics, military ethics and probably public sector ethics. You could shoot across to Western Australia where they'll be focusing on minerals and exploration and the ethical questions there. And the list would go on. So it's not about replacing or displacing initiatives, it's about taking them and amplifying them in ways that simply has not been done anywhere else in the world before. And as we do that, as we improve our ethical infrastructure, which is just as important as physical and technical infrastructure, so the community looking at this independent initiative will be able to allow more and more of the things which are needed to drive an economy to happen. Because as things are today, even when people think it's ultimately to their benefit, they just don't trust the people in charge to do it in a way which ensures an equitable distribution of burdens and benefits.